Hadley.
Sorry, I'm just accepting all these notifications. Hello, friends, and you are our friends. Welcome to the third round of the Green Party of Alaska's debate, presidential open forums, open presidential debates, however you want to say it. So Brittany Jones, she got in the first round with 10 people. She's gone to the second with Jasmine. She won the votes, and now she's here with the Afroman in the third round, as we promised everyone. So we have Afroman and Brittany Jones debating each other. So I'm looking at the format. I'm not looking up to as I'm annoyed. It's just the unfortunate position of everything here. So the so it's gonna go. Each candidate will be given 2 minutes to introduce themselves, and then Meta and I will ask a series of questions gathered by our team and from some public input as well. It's not just us making all the questions. We'll also be taking questions from YouTube chat, and we also just got the news that we're on 11 other platforms. Pretty wild. We're growing, and so each candidate, after our introductions, each candidate will have 1 minute to respond. If there's a call for rebuttal, each candidate will get an additional 30 seconds. And after you, Meta.
Yeah, thank you, Josh. I appreciate that. And just so people know, we're all calling in from different areas. I'm calling in from Denina Eshnena in Anchorage, Alaska. We also have other people in Alaska on traditional homelands of the indigenous people, as well as across America. Wherever we go, we are on indigenous people's homelands, and the indigenous people have been the caretakers for these lands for tens of thousands of years, and is a primary reason why they're so lush and so beautiful. And we want to respect that indigenous people are still alive and still well and still the caretakers of these lands, and that we are always in partnership and grateful for the ability to live and play and enjoy these spaces and all of the abundance and beauty that provides us in nature. And we are able to see whose lands we are. If you go to nativeland.ca, you can see a globe and it will show you where you are at and whose traditional lands you are. I encourage you to find out who they are, who the tribes are, and see how you can engage in cultural activities or support the tribe near you and learn about the rich history of this beautiful land that we're on. I'm thankful for all of our people, our team here to make this happen. My co-host is Josh Hadley. Our producer is Robert Shields. And we have the support of Amber King, who is also co-host and our tech support. Excuse me. Just so you know, where Josh is at is a winter storm warning. You could probably look it up on Google Earth or on a weather app. He's in Kotzebue, Alaska, which, if you have your handy pocket map, is up here. And I'm here in South Central, and Robert's calling from Interior. So if we lose Josh, I'll just keep on rolling with the questions, but hopefully you'll be able to stay with us throughout this time. I'm excited to ask questions to both Afroman and Brittany Jones, who will be asking to introduce themselves. And remember, you have 2 minutes each. We'll start with Afroman. Please introduce yourself and share with us why you are running for this candidacy.
Hello, everybody. My name is Joseph Afroman Foreman. I am running for president to make cannabis legal and recreational in all 50 states in America. I am also running to decriminalize it federally. I'm also running to end police immunity and make police officers obey the laws that they enforce. I'm running to help the mental health of the country. I believe we all need to look at some of the strides that we've made together and hold on to the progress and not go backwards. I can elaborate from there, but that's pretty much the foundation of my campaign and my platform.
Well, thank you, Afroman. I appreciate that. Next, we'll go to Brittany Jones. Please introduce yourself and share with us why you are running for this candidacy.
Hey everyone, my name is Brittany Jones. I'm running completely unaffiliated with any party. I'm a veteran, a member of the LGBTQIA2S+ community. I am a poverty level citizen, and I know what it's like to live out here and struggle, unlike a lot of these disconnected, more wealthier candidates that you see. And I'm running for the complete and clear separation of church and state. I'm running to make sure that Indigenous treaties are not only enforced and expanded, but that accountability is brought for the treaty violations that have been happening since the beginning of colonization. And I'm running to take the systematic racism out of our institutions, from our schools to our police force to our prison system, and to make America truly safe and actually free for all of us.
Thank you, Brittany. I appreciate that.
You.
Yep, off to you, Josh.
All right, looks like I get the first questions. And we got a little bit of a preview of this from Afroman's introduction. The Green Party of Alaska's first priority is the federal legalization of cannabis. What is your number one priority for office? First, I'll ask this to Afroman.
My number one priority is going to be legalizing cannabis. It's such a demand for it. It's such an outcry. I'm surprised I had enough time to register and make it my platform. I thought some other, traditional politician on their toes will realize that, this was a serious demand in America, and also a financial boost to a lot of poverty-stricken states. It's helping out with taxes and rehabilitation, and it's getting people off of pills. So I figured, some veteran politician would jump on this, but seeing that they wouldn't, I feel honored to make legalizing cannabis my main platform. It's my build the wall slogan. It's my main thing. That's the main thing I'm trying to do.
Thank you, Afroman. Same question to you, Brittany Jones. Legalization is the Green Party of Alaska's first priority. What is your number priority when you're elected to office?
Well, I do support the full legalization of cannabis, and actually all drugs, and regulation and legalization of all drugs, safe use centers, making sure tax revenue can go to the universal health care so people can get the help they need, and reduce addiction rates and remove us from the black market for the drug cartels. It's not my primary goal when I get into office. My first goal is Indigenous treaties and making sure that our First Nations are truly free and sovereign. I think it's about time that First Nations are put first for once.
And I believe we'll be switching from Meta and myself when it comes to asking questions. Meta, if you want to jump in for number two.
Yes, before we jump into number two, Afroman and
Oh, sorry,
Brittany, would you
I
like
keep
to...
saying Meta. I apologize. I keep
It's
saying
Meta.
Meta
You're
instead of
right.
Meta. I got mixed up.
It is okay. Thank you very much, Josh. So before we move on to the next question, Afroman or Brittany, do you have a rebuttal to the original question?
No rebuttal from me.
No,
All
ma'am.
right, thank you. Thank you. So in our communities, there is a considerable rise in violence and violent crimes. How would your administration make our rural, suburban, and urban communities safe again? First to Afroman and then to Brittany.
Well, from the beginning of time, there's always been, some crime, and something bad going on. Of course, I would try to talk to the youth and show them the advantage of living a legitimate life, give them examples of how they can legitimately make money. Mental health. A lot of people are living under a lot of stress. A lot of people are living under a lot of poverty. If people knew how to make money and they knew how to get peace within themselves, uh, happiness. I think people need like space and distance. Like each person should have so much space. I listen to my my partner that's running for president. Also, she was talking about the indigenous peace treaties. Like I would. There's a pain and there is a a thing in this country that needs to be dealt with. I would really like to talk to, all the nations in Africa that sold slaves in some kind of way. I'm not blaming it on, nobody in particular, but the fact is this country or these countries sold their people to other people, and Black people, Africans, whatever you want to call us, we were distributed throughout the earth. There are mental repercussions passed down from generation to generation. And I would like to talk about those countries paying back what they made from selling them. And not only the original countries that sold them, the other um, the other people who bought them and made money off of them. People need land. People need mental health care. And it's the right thing. The wrong thing was done. There's nothing wrong with discussing possibilities of the right thing. And one of the things that could be done is just eliminate, state and federal taxes for African Americans, and the descendants of the slave trade. This is one thing. You talk about inner city, you talk about inner city violence and this and that. I'm not with it, but you know, if I took a group of people and I worked them for 400 or 500 years and I didn't pay them nothing, they would be out robbing and killing and doing all kind of stuff. So, if we seriously wanted to help out the inner city and seriously wanted to stop and reduce crime, we would reach into the riches of society that they took from the slave trade, give back to the people, give some land. It would help out, and that's one of the discussions I would have to seriously reduce crime.
Thank you, Afroman, and we're gonna give the same question to Brittany. Considering the rise in gun violence and violent crimes, what is your number one priority? Sorry, how would your
Hold on.
administration make your streets safe again? We did go a little over time.
That's okay. I'm going to repeat the question because I rephrased it a little bit, Josh, on my side. So
Yeah,
sorry for pulling a fast one. Considering the rise in violence and violent crimes, how would your administration make our rural, suburban, and urban communities safe again, Brittany?
I believe that all our communities need to be safe again. We are facing a huge mental health crisis that stems from generational trauma. We have to address the past wrongs and make them right. And that goes from enforcing treaties, bringing accountability to those violated treaties, bringing reparations to our Black community, taking the racism out of our institutions. Many people don't realize that our police force was created from leftover slave patrols, and that the gangs that we see in the inner cities and in these areas were created as a method to stand up to the racist police force as they were coming into the communities and taking advantage of those communities. And the rhetoric has changed over time to paint these marginalized communities in a light that is negative, and that's the institutionalized racism that we see today. We need to take it out of our prisons. We need to take it out of our schools. We need to take it out of our hospitals. And to do that, we need to enforce the anti-discrimination laws. We need to fire the people who are using racism and bigotry and sexism in their practices and to make their decisions. And then we need to really focus on mental health. We don't have enough mental health practitioners in the field. College is extremely expensive. And while the president cannot create free education, once Congress sets the budget for the executive branch, we can create grants to make going to school more affordable while people elect people into Congress that actually want free education, so that we can get mental health practitioners into the field, so people can get mental health help. And we also need to fight the stigma against being masculine. Men don't cry, boys will be boys. This makes them suppress emotions, which is why the majority of mass shooters are cisgendered white males. And this is statistics. It's not just throwing this out there. And it's because of the suppression of emotions and the lack of mental health in this country. We are becoming so unempathetic to other people's needs because all we're focusing on is ourselves and the self-gratification and self-satisfaction, that we're not stopping to think of other people. And we need to work on that.
Thank you, Brittany. I appreciate that. So both speakers did go over time. Are you okay if we skip the rebuttal process for this question?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right.
Okay, Josh, to you.
So the Green Party of Alaska prioritizes hydrogen as an energy currency to lead us forward. What are your administration's plans to address the country's energy needs? Let's switch it up and ask this to Brittany first. So, when you're elected, what's your plans for energy for this country?
There's a motorcycle going on in the background. Okay, so for focusing on the environment and clean energy for our country, we have to recognize that the extraction processes for these lithium batteries to make these electric vehicles, solar panels, and all that stuff is actually really damaging to our environment as well. We need to focus on creating extractive measures that don't harm the environment in the same way. Right now, mines and refineries are being pushed nationwide in violation of treaties. Indigenous councils are working with corporations now instead of with the people to get mines and refineries near their reservations and their territories. And it's just going to pollute the environment. It's just going to cause more pollution in the water. We saw it with the cobalt mines and other mines that cause cancer within the indigenous communities. And we have to find better extractive measures. I'm looking into nuclear fusion. It's not nuclear fission. It is different. There are other measures that we can look into, but I do believe that we need to invest in serious research so that we can save our earth and save our environment.
Thank you, Brittany. And I'll shoot this question, the same one to Afroman. I'll repeat it. The Green Party of Alaska prioritizes hydrogen as an energy currency to lead us forward. What are your administration plans to address the country's energy needs if you're elected?
First of all, personally, I would like to know what's all available. And I'm all about alternative energy. I'm all about a better form of energy, if we can improve energy. So I'm all about, like hydrogen, like, there's water. What can we do with it? I'm not opposed to the idea of a car running off of water, or, there's a way to make everything beneficial. So my administration would be all ears and eager to move with the most, efficient energy that helps out and doesn't do damage to the earth.
Thank you, Afroman. And it doesn't seem like anyone's asking. Well, it doesn't seem Brittany is asking for a rebuttal. So I'll shoot this back after you, Mita.
Thank you, Josh. I appreciate this. So Afroman, we'll go to you first and Brittany second. Homelessness has reached critical levels and is a public health issue affecting people of all ages, genders, and ethnicities, including our veterans who have served our country and the most innocent of our population, our children. How will your administration address this issue?
I would like to talk to people about open land throughout the states that nobody's using per se. And then I would like to talk about services that homeless people could do for society. You know, I understand that, people get down and the strong shall bear the infirmity of the weak. So there should be something in place for homeless people. I would love to talk about, I'm really interested in land that people are not using and some kind of way setting up homes for them. I heard something about those crates that they pull on the back of trucks and they put them on ships. They were saying how they made homes out of them. And they were saying, there's all these different types of really cheap economical homes, but they are homes. And then there's all that, barren land out there. I drive cross country all the time, and there's lots of land empty. And, maybe on the outskirts of town, everybody that has property in town, they're paying taxes on their property. I don't want to embarge on tax-paying citizens, but like if they really want a home on the outskirts of town, toward the land that's open, the city's expanded, something set in place for them, um, and not just thrown together to look like some slum or something. Like really try to make it look nice, really help the people, get them the mental health they need. And then some kind of way, if possible, we have the homeless people give back to society to the point where everything's working together.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And we will go ahead and ask the same question to Britney. Homelessness has reached critical levels and is a public health issue affecting people of all ages, genders, and ethnicities, including our veterans who have served our country and the most innocent population, our children. How will your administration address this issue?
On my website, I actually have a comprehensive homelessness plan that would be able to house not only the homeless people, but be expanded to anyone that can't afford. And it's a path to home ownership. It's not renting. It wouldn't really it would technically be government housing, but you would own the home. It wouldn't be the same rules and regulations like no pets and all that other stuff that government housing tries to impose on people to make finding housing harder. And then for our veterans, it would include our veterans as well. But we also need to consolidate our military forces and close down our overseas military bases that we no longer use. We've spent over $55 billion in 2022 on overseas military bases. By reallocating that funding to veteran services and taking care of our active service members, we can also help with the homelessness epidemic. And so there's a multi-pronged attack that we can do, and the support services can be there by using the homes that are already here without having to take over more land and encroach on natural wildlife. The dilapidated homes, malls, the empty hotels, those can be repurposed to homelessness. And a lot of times we see foreign companies like Chinese asset companies buying property here, residential properties, commercial properties for their asset list, and then they let them sit empty. The government can seize that property and put it to use for the people. And that's one of my plans.
Thank you, Britney. Afroman or Britney, do either of you need time for rebuttal? Okay, thank you. Josh?
All right. Next question. Shoot this to Brittany first. The Green Party of Alaska is advancing holistic healthcare, including removing toxins from food. What would your administration do to encourage greater public health?
not only am I pagan, so been learning over the last few years how to make my own tinctures, my own salves, my own medicine for myself to use. But as I've been reconnecting with my own indigenous roots, I've been learning more in that regards as well, returning to earth, using natural remedies rather than what the pharmaceutical companies push onto us. Weed is one of those that we can use for mental health, and not just weed, but CBD. I smoked weed back in high school, and but my younger years, and then I haven't smoked weed for very often as an adult. I just started here and there, but CBD has helped me extensively with my body's aches and pains. My legs are messed up from the military, my shoulders messed up from the military. I got in a car wreck, my neck is messed up. So it helps with my physical aches and pains, with my anxiety. And so it's hemp, it's hemp and CBD. Oh my goodness. CBD comes from the hemp plant. THC does not. So there's two things that we can use. And medical marijuana, I think it should not have a medical classification on it. It should be available to everyone without a prescription. There's no overdosing on it. It's safe. It grows. You can almost grow it anywhere. Oregon weed is one of the best, I hear. But and just natural medicine is absolutely important. We're putting kids on meth with that when they have ADHD instead of teaching them coping mechanisms and how to control themselves. So natural, in my opinion, is the way to go.
Thank you, Brittany, and I'll shoot the same question to Afroman. The Green Party of Alaska is advancing holistic healthcare, including removing toxins from food. What would your administration do to encourage greater public health?
Yes, I'm all about removing toxins from food and making everything healthier. I'm a musician and I travel, and I didn't realize how much they call them droplets, but how much droplets spray when people talk until this pandemic thing jumped off here a little while ago. So um, I would definitely try to make the environment cleaner. I think that people that operate with food, I know the pandemic is over and this, that, and the other, but I think people that handle food should wear a face mask because you're giving orders, you're taking orders, and there's a high possibility droplets is going all over the food, and you're serving this to the public. And then I'm all about taking the toxins out of food. You know, let's have the healthiest food we can have. And how do we do that? What do I know you need to preserve the food, this, that, and the other, but I would try to reduce all of the bad stuff as much as possible so we can have better food, live healthier lives.
Thank you, Afroman. I'll shoot it back to Mita.
Thank you, Josh. I appreciate it. All right. So in our structure that we have, I'll be posing this to Afroman first and then Brittany Jones second. We're going to shift away from asking if you have a rebuttal, but we'll pause after each question and answer. So that way, if you do have a rebuttal, you can just speak up if needed. All right. So the question for you, Afroman, is traditionally executive orders are ready to be signed and enacted on the first day. What are you and your administration working on and plan to sign day one?
Day one, I don't know how many executive orders they'll let me sign in one day. But I'll give you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Day one, I would sign an executive order to legalize cannabis federally in all 50 states. As soon as I get in office, cannabis is legal all over America. Then I sign another executive order to decriminalize it federally also. Then I would sign another executive order ending police immunity. They represent the law. I think it's fair to say they should be obeying it. And so it's like, if there's evidence of the guy not obeying the law that he enforces, saying, he gets what every other citizen gets. No more. I'm gonna sign another executive order stopping asset forfeiture or legalized robbery. No more just pulling people over and legally robbing them because you have immunity and you're the government or whatever. And yes, that's enough for right now.
Yeah, thank you. We're just because of time, we need to be conscious. So I appreciate your answer and your timing. All right, Brittany. So traditionally, executive orders are ready to be signed and enacted on the first day. What are you and your administration working on and plan to sign on day one?
I have some of them listed on my website, but initially we're going to sign executive orders to make sure that transgender people have access to gender affirming care and healthcare in general. We're going to be signing an executive order for the separation of church and state so that no religious organizations can lobby for legislation any longer. We're going to be signing an executive order to make sure that people have access to abortion care federally, nationwide. And then we're also going to be creating task force through executive orders, investigative task force that are separate from our police forces, because I'm tired of police agencies being able to investigate themselves, hospitals investigating themselves. We need to have third parties that are disconnected from these agencies, preferably people from the community, creating these task forces and doing full investigations in every single police district, every single police office, all the way down from the state level to the federal level, and get some charges filed. I absolutely agree with getting rid of qualified immunity, not just for the police, but for CPS and other organizations like that as well. They need accountability because right now they're creating legal human trafficking, the school to prison pipeline. A lot of these laws were created after slavery was ended, like the loitering law, because they needed slave labor. And so they created these stupid, ridiculous laws so they could lock up marginalized communities, primarily Black people, and have this cheap labor. And that creates the private prison system where they are getting profits off of these laborers. And we can shift away from that.
Thank you, Brittany. All right, back to you, Josh.
Well, seeing no rebuttal, I will ask Brittany another question. The Green Party of Alaska recognizes that the zero waste campaigns are crucial to nurturing a robust economy. Well, what are your administration's plans for growing a thriving economy?
For the zero waste, there's a lot of innovative businesses out there right now. We can make tiles out of plastic. There's one guy who can create gas or oil out of recycled plastic. There's a company that takes glass and recycles it back into sand for sandbags and landscaping. There's so many different things we can do. We can also move away from the deforestation that we see today by moving to hemp. It's better for the environment. It filters the soil. We can create more items. I also was a seamstress and a designer, and I worked with a company that used recycled plastics to create their fabric. And we made sports clothes out of those, these sports shirts. And they were extremely soft. They were completely recycled. And focusing on recycling the items that we have, we can create jobs. We can clean our environment, boost our economy, and overall help the environment and the population.
Thank you, Brittany. And same question to you, Afroman. The Green Party of Alaska recognizes that zero waste campaigns are crucial to nurturing robust economy. What are your administration's plans for growing a thriving economy?
A thriving economy. One thing you don't want is a hole in your bucket. I would have to have, for one, I'd want to plug all the holes in the bucket. So like I want some walls, some border walls on both the northern Canada border and the Mexico border. And every company that's from America, uh, it needs to pay its due to America, the taxes, and then it needs to hire, whoever is from America, you know, they need to have jobs, like if before they outsource the jobs to like a whole another country or whatever, I'd make sure, what I'm saying, the dollar was contained in America to the point where it became powerful. Um, Another thing, let's see, the keeping them in, yeah, and all the companies pay, and then they got to hire Americans first. And then, but if America, at the same time, I try to make the environment better, creating jobs, making sure we all buy American products first. And I would tax imported products. Like I wouldn't have it to the point where, products was coming in, money was leaving the United States and none was staying. So I would, those are some of the basic things I would do to keep, to have a thriving economy and keep the money in the country. And then I talk about more ways to help the economy grow.
I do have a rebuttal.
All right, Brittany, let's go to Brittany for your follow here.
Immigration, even illegal immigrants, they help our economy. A lot of illegal immigrants actually pay taxes and they don't get tax returns. I grew up in a Mexican family. I've seen this firsthand, and a border wall would negatively affect that. Instead of working with our neighbors, we shouldn't be cutting them off. We should be working with them. And we have to remember that, the Mexican immigrants, some of the Canadian immigrants, they are First Nations too. There's Inuit, Inupiaq. I don't even know that there's over 2,000 tribal nations in Mexico. And there's 574 recognized nations here. And we can't just cut off our cousins, our brothers, our sisters, our relatives because we want to build a wall. That would only disrupt the environment as well.
I have a
Thank you,
rebuttal.
Brittany. And I imagine Afroman, do you have a rebuttal to that?
Yes, yes, I have a rebuttal. I have no problem with a legal citizen. If you come here legally and you're contributing to the country, fine. But if you come to America illegally and you're making cash and you're shipping it out of the country, you're like, an ant or something. You're eating the apple from the inside out. So I'm all about people that come to the country legally, but I'm not supportive of people who don't. They break the law, they come here illegally, and they make money and they send it back to wherever. When I break the law, I get punished. So I'm not for people breaking the law, making money, and making the economy bad. I'm totally against that.
Well, thank you, Afroman. And looking at the format, Mita must have a different one. Is there a question for you?
Yeah, there was a blank one on the sheet that was sent out, but I have it filled in, which is an interesting segue to where that conversation went for the last question. So I had pre-written this one. You both must have just picked up that was what was coming. So Afroman, will go to you first, and then Brittany second, and we'll allow you to elaborate on this conversation. Considering that the United States has a history based on immigration, we currently have an immigration crisis, and the climate change will increase the number of climate refugees. How is your administration planning to address the important immigration and climate refugee challenges that we will face?
Okay. Like I said, if you're a legal immigrant, you come through this country legally, I have no problem with you. You're obeying the law. I would stop illegal immigration. They're not coming to the country legally. That's against the law. That's a crime. Like I said, when I commit a crime, I got to go to jail, pay tickets, all kind of stuff. But they say nobody's above the law. Well, if that's the case, I would stop illegal immigration. And if you're here legally, then you're contributing. If you are a refugee, if like even if you're a refugee, the country has to ask themselves if they want you to enter. And if the country wants you to enter, if it's voted and everybody says, yes, we want the refugees in, then we, the people, will let the refugees in. But there's not, under my administration, there's not going to just be open borders and whoever and whatever can just, run over and come over.
Thank you very much, Afroman. We will go to Brittany. Considering that the United States has a history based on immigration, we currently have an immigration crisis, and the climate change will increase the number of climate refugees. How is your administration planning to address the important immigration and climate refugee challenges?
So I actually have a plan for our southern border and our northern border, specifically our southern border, though, because people seem to be so hung up on that. We have historically worked with Mexico to streamline the immigration process, streamline the asylum seeking process, the refugee process. When this happened, with work and travel visas easier to get, there was less of a strain on the immigration system. The infrastructure and the economy improved on both sides of the border. And there was less immigrants because these people don't want to leave their families. They don't want to leave their homes. So if we can work with our neighbors to make sure that their homes are safer, their homes support their people, then their people will want to stay there and boost their economy, stay with their families. And we have to remember that there's illegal immigrants coming in through airplanes, through boats, through all sorts of methods. They're not just crossing on land. And there's also illegal American immigrants in other countries who are still collecting disability or collecting money from our system, but taking advantage of the free healthcare and free schools in other countries without coming back here and contributing to our society. And they're overstaying their visas. So we can't just look at immigrants here and call them illegal while ignoring the fact that our people are doing it too in other countries. So it's a multi-pronged effort to make it smoother. And a lot of people don't realize that you can't just look at someone and say they're illegal. For the asylum process, you actually have to step foot on American soil to apply for asylum. So we have to streamline the process and make it easier and get Border Patrol to work with humanitarian aid efforts groups so that everyone can be protected and safe.
Yes, so
Thank
I
you,
got a
Brittany.
rebuttal.
Okay.
I
Yes,
got a
sir.
rebuttal. Yes. When I said illegal immigration, I meant all illegal immigration, not just a specific illegal immigration. So it's like I meant all refugees, no matter where, because they had people come in from Syria or wherever. So any refugee from anywhere or any illegal immigrant from anywhere, my administration is here to make people do the process right, to make them do it legally. So we would stop all law-breaking, illegal immigration. And to rebuttal something else, I heard it a little bit earlier. She mentioned something about something like taking away masculinity. I disagree with that. A man can express himself and he can tell his problems. He can do everything he needs to do, and he can still be a man. You don't need to demasculize a man. You don't need to de-lesbianize a lesbian. We all need to live together.
Thank you, Afroman. Brittany, do you have a 30-second rebuttal?
For the earlier thing, it's a man crying doesn't demasculate him. That's the rhetoric that is pushed in our society today, and we need to stop that. Men can cry, men can be gay, men can be more feminine. They're still men. So That seems like it was a misunderstanding. But other than that, streamlining the process would help reduce the illegal immigrants. I don't think we can get rid of all illegal immigrants. We'd have to have a constant supervision almost. But I would, seeing a plan for that would be great.
All right, I appreciate both of you. I will hand the next question over to Josh.
Thank you, Mita. And this next question, I've watched politics for a followed it for a long time. I think I was in sixth grade, and it was the 2004 election, and I was very excited. I ended up being the only person to vote Ralph Nader in my classroom. It's just a little funny story. But you see, the Great Party of Alaska uses Star Trek as an example of a future we got right. To help carry them through the challenges of ahead, how will your administration give the people hope for the future? Considering how toxic politics is to talk to anyone on the streets, some as it is, Brittany. How do you answer this question?
I truly believe the younger generation is waking up. Unfortunately, any changes we make today, we may not live to see the fruition of those changes. But the young people are waking up, and they're, especially with social media and all their access they have to information now, I think the hope is already there. I think they're seeing that they can run for office. They can make these changes. I know it's hard when you're struggling to live paycheck to paycheck, but bringing that hope back, allowing people to have those dreams again, to pursue their goals. I can't tell you how many times throughout my life I've been told, you can't do that. Do you know how hard it is to do that? I still pursued my dreams and goals. I've opened a college. Now I'm running for president, and everyone didn't take me seriously in the beginning because I'm a poverty level person. I've never been in a government position, and everyone told me, do you know the chances of actually winning as a third party? That rhetoric, we need to smash it. People should be able to pursue their goals without people telling them that they can't do it, because we can. We can absolutely make change in our country. We can absolutely pursue this change, and we just have to stick to our guns and stay stubborn.
Thank you, Brittany. And Afroman, same question to you. The Green Party of Alaska uses Star Trek as an example of a future we got right. To help carry them through the challenges ahead, how will your administration give hope for the future? The people would love to know.
My administration wants peace and prosperity. So lots of investing in people, no wars if humanly possible. No wars. I like what she said about the bases that are not being used. All of that money coming on back to America. I would like to put music back into schools. People knew how to play instruments back in the 30s and the 40s and the 60s and the 70s. And, here and there, you can still learn it here and there, but it's not in the schools like it used to be. I want people to learn how to dig wells again. Talk to them about the disasters that came through and how to get through them. Make new friends, but keep the old, because the old is good as gold. So whatever helped us and got us through, we pass it on to the young people and make sure we do a diligent job of it. To the point where, if a 70-year-old man talks to a 13-year-old boy, he gives that 13-year-old boy 70 years worth of knowledge, making that 13-year-old boy a smarter man, having a better head start. So lots of counseling, lots of talking to young people, lots of programs to give hope. And I am a believer, and I believe in separation of church and state, but I want to give a human being the option to listen to my beliefs and the beliefs of others, to hear the message of hope. If you believe there's hope, you will live a different way than if you think it's hopeless. If you really think life is hopeless, you're going to make these hopeless moves. You're going to say these hopeless things. But if you believe there's hope, you're going to move different. You're going to move positive. You know what I'm saying? To have a happy, positive, hopeful mentality. So I believe in mental health, uh, showing them hope, letting them know what they can do, where they can go, and no wars and lots of prosperity. You're teaching the kids how to be mechanics, cooks, or whatever, and they see how they can get it and they can do it, and they have hope. Then we can lay in our caskets with a smile in peace as we pass that hope on to the next generation, to the future.
I think everyone hopes for that, Afro man. Well, I don't believe Britney wants a rebuttal for that. So, last question will go to Amita, and I think she's gonna take it home for us.
Yeah, I'll ask a question and then we'll go to the audience for some questions. But the last question that I have for both of you is a important one for us as well. Women have had the right to vote for just over 100 years. Since that anniversary, we've seen nationally, especially in southern and some rural states, a push against women's rights to access adequate health care, including safe, affordable abortion services, and their rights to privacy. How will you handle this issue? Starting with Afroman.
I believe women should have the right to vote, get good health care. I believe that women should be able to give me a quick second. Hang on a quick second. I'm doing this interview. I'll be right with you. All right. All right. I believe that I believe women should be able to have abortions if they get raped, or if it's a medical condition. Um, I don't think that they should just live wild and loose and then just go get an abortion. But if it's a medical procedure, that if it's life threatening, if the lady got raped or something like that, I do believe that good health care should be available for her.
Thank you for that answer. Brittany, I'll pose the same question to you. Women have had the right to vote for just over 100 years. Since the anniversary, we have seen nationally, especially in southern and some rural states, a push against women's rights and access to adequate health care, including safe, affordable abortion services and their rights to privacy. How will you handle this situation?
This is almost like it is a multi-answer question. First, having the right to vote. Right now, the two main parties pump so much money into our economy. They're backed by the same corporations and they're telling people that third party or independent vote is a wasted vote, essentially stripping people of their power, because the American people's power is in their vote to shape the government. So we need to stop listening to that rhetoric. Don't let people tell you that voting for myself or Afroman or anyone else is a wasted vote. It's you expressing your voice and what you want, and that is never wasted. And for women's rights, I've expressed earlier, for people to have access to abortion care. I'm going to do an executive order. In our Constitution, in the Bill of Rights, it says the right to life, liberty, and happiness. And if police don't have to go in there and put their life on the line to save someone else, we can't be forced to put someone else's life before our own. In America, we have the highest mortality rate for pregnant women or pregnant people, and the highest mortality rate for afterbirth in an advanced nation. We don't have the adequate health care. We should not have to put our lives on the line because we end up pregnant. That shouldn't be how it is. And we should be able to put our lives first, no matter how you got pregnant. And it's not just that, but we can't get our tubes tied without having 3 kids, husband's permission, or if you're too young. But a man can go get a what's it called?
Vasectomy.
Vasectomy. They can go get a vasectomy without all of that. It's absolutely unequal in our healthcare system. When we have pain, we're giving ibuprofen. There's so many things that need to be addressed that's systematically unequal, and not just for women, but for marginalized communities as well. Black women are it's still trained in the medical community today that Black women don't feel as much pain as white women. It's absolutely atrocious, and we have to fix that because we're all human. We all feel. We have the same brain, the same anatomy, and we need to get that fixed.
Thank you. I've appreciated this time with both Afroman and you, Brittany Jones. I will hand it over to Josh to pose questions from the audience.
All right. So here's one from Nydia, Brittany. With the threat of Project 2025 and the idea, I believe, is if Trump gets in, he stays in. Uh, so if when you're elected, what's your plan to do something to make sure the president can't ever coup the country like that again, or as this plan goes, rather?
So whether blue or red is in office, they're backed by the same corporations. So I think they would pursue 2025 regardless of who is in office if one of them gets in there. It would just be done differently. We need somebody who's from the people, for the people, by the people, not for the corporations, from the corporations, by the corporations. So to fight this, I'm sorry, can you repeat the question again? I had a good answer.
So what are you gonna do to make sure that the democratic process is always followed, and the president can't just say, "Well, I'm gonna make all these laws to make sure I stay in." Basically, I suppose.
Right. So the president can't create new legislation, but I believe there needs to be actual accountability for our elected officials. We need to be able to, the people need to be able to say, hey, I don't like this elected official in office anymore. I'm going to impeach them. Right now, only Congress can do impeachments on Congress or the president or the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court could technically remove a Congress member, but they've never tried it. There's no accountability. There's no true oversight. There's no actual balance between the 3 branches like there's supposed to be. So we need to work on correcting that balance, making sure the people's voices are heard and making sure there's accountability for elected officials. And that starts with, I'm not just going to be doing task force to investigate our institutions. I'm going to be doing task force to investigate our politicians for crimes against humanity, complicity in genocide, bribery. And we're going to get them impeached, press federal charges, and get them removed from office and open this doors for the younger generation to step up.
Thank you, Brittany. And considering this is one of the few questions, I'll also shoot this to Afroman. So, with the threat of Project 2025, Trump's gonna get back in, and he has this plan to stay in. When you're elected president, what's your plan to make sure the person following you or in the future people don't try to do a coup in this sort of way?
Obey the law, obey the Constitution. The forefathers set. They got things in place, so these types of things don't happen. If I were to run up and attack a police officer because I didn't like the way something was going, whether it be a court case or a law, I wouldn't be alive. I'd be shot, dead, killed, because they wouldn't allow me to violate the law. When I'm in the White House, or I'm gonna, nobody is gonna stop the democratic process. Nobody's gonna stop the way the country runs. They're not gonna run up the stairs with sticks and bats and bear spray. And if they do, you know, police will be deployed, army will be deployed, the country will defend itself against rebels. And I'll have everything in place for the next office to and encourage them not to let rebels control the country, but to let, you know what I'm saying, the democratic process control the country like it's been doing. The people have been electing who they want in office for the people, by the people. So that's what I do, There would be no crimes like that. Overthrowing the government, that's treason.
Thank you, Afroman. And not hearing a rebuttal from Brittany, I would like to thank both our candidates, Afroman and Brittany Jones. Mita, if you could take us home, I really appreciate that.
Yep, sure will. Thank you, Josh. And thank you to all who joined us today. As citizens of a democratic republic, it is our civil and moral duty to be engaged and to vote when we are able to do so. We appreciate your contribution to the conversation, and for all of those who are watching and who will watch this recording, please like and share our page. We also want to remind you that it does take the time. We do need to take the time to talk about these issues. We grew up being told not to talk about politics or religion, and that has only caused more division in our country. The way that we will come to a consensus and work together is by talking about it. So let's pull back that taboo and have those conversations. The more we have them, the better we will get at discussing and coming to terms with our fellow Americans. For more information, please go to the Green Party of Alaska, their permaculture platform, and bold 2024 priorities. Visit their Facebook page online at alaska-greens.org. On behalf of our team, thank you for coming and good night.